alien spacecraft did not crash in Roswell, New Mexico in 1947.
You know flat earthers, I guarantee it. But you don't know who they are because they're afraid of talking about it.
This is not a test. This is your emergency broadcast system.
Hello and welcome to the 42nd annual Subliminal Deception Podcast, your weekly dose of conspiracy theory bullshit. My name is Cody, and I'm joined by my pal Phil. How are you?
Doing good, buddy. How about yourself?
I'm actually doing great. You know, as we talked about before the show, my heart was put on notice after watching the Vikings beat the Saints last week. That was I don't like that feeling, that like on edge feeling. I shouldn't be that involved with football, you know, but it's the only thing Vikings have to cheer for. Vikings fans have to cheer for, I should say.
Yeah, that's exactly how I feel pretty much every single week, like watching Iowa. Unless they're playing like some slum, like Maryland team or something like that. But that's exactly how I felt every single week.
Ugh, I hate it.
Because they always keep it close.
Yeah, I know. Like, you see other teams, they're blowing each other out or whatever, and it's like, I feel like we don't get to experience that very often. Maybe it's just an illusion because I have no like a horse in the game or whatever. Of those games, I don't really care what happens, but I don't know. Holding on to your seat for dear life is just a weird feeling. And by the time people hear this episode, either the Vikings will beat San Francisco and we'll be really happy about it, or they will lose and will once again be sad Minnesota Vikings fans. But you know what? I'm holding strong. My faith is up there. I'm hoping they win.
Yeah, well, I always talk about this. Imagine if you were like a Bama fan or a New England fan, like a Patriots fan, and your team just always won. Like always had like, you know, really good seasons, always made it to the championship games. You would almost not even like have a reason to watch. You know, so it's good. It's good to have a team that's like above average and like always in the fight, but you don't know if they could win or lose.
Yeah.
It's like watching a movie and like definitely not knowing the ending to it. So that's
true. The crazy thing is going to be, you know, our generation, like probably within the next, I'd say 3 to 5 years, you know, Breeze is going to be gone, Brady's going to be gone, Rodgers is going to be gone. Like, I don't know. It's going to be a weird, surreal moment for those clubs, I think.
Yeah, there's definitely a fight coming up on top of the pecking order of like top 3 best quarterbacks. I've been listening to ESPN radio to and from work, and that's all they've been talking about is like the next generation coming up. Like Baltimore's quarterback. You've got, well, of course I'm in Arizona, so they talk about
Kyler.
Yeah, I almost forgot his name. I hear his fucking name every day, but Kyler Murray. They talk a lot about him, so they have high hopes. But yeah, there's definitely a next generation coming up. It's pretty exciting.
What I think is kind of ironic is, I'd say the NFL's kind of shifting more to like the college type quarterback where you have to be able to run and whatever. And like at first it didn't really catch on because those guys were getting slaughtered, but now it seems like those are going to be like the elite ones now, which is kind of crazy to think about.
Yeah, well, there's definitely the problem is you draft that style of quarterback and then the team doesn't automatically like make itself like mold around that quarterback. So he gets slaughtered like that. What you really have to do is like build it from the ground up. Like have that like kind of offensive line and those wide receivers ready for that air raid style quarterback who can also run the triple threat, you know.
Yeah, that's a good point actually. But anyway, stepping off football here, Phil, what do you got for us in this week's hot sheets?
Well, I was picking through the latest National Enquirer and just kind of stumbled upon this great story. So, Perv Epstein's spy work kept him safe from the law.
Okay, all right.
So here it goes. Twisted pervert Jeffrey Epstein skirted the heavy hand of justice because he was a spy.
For who?
Well, it's coming up.
Okay.
It's the big breakthrough. And protected by the government figures desperate to keep the peace with foreign allies.
Okay. Makes sense.
Yep. So that's the bombshell claim by Stephen Hoffenberg, who got 18 years in prison for a criminal enterprise he says he masterminded with Epstein.
So Epstein was his pawn.
Yeah, so this all happened years ago. So while the now dead creep received a sweetheart deal, now this was Epstein's 2006 arrest for sex crimes with underage girls in Florida resulted in a very lenient and unprecedented plea deal. So according to Hoffenberg, he also got away with financial crimes. Now Hoffenberg, the former chairman of debt collection agency Towers Financial Corporations, said he and Epstein ran a Ponzi scheme that soaked investors for $475 million.
Wow, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, I hadn't even heard that Epstein was in a supposed Ponzi scheme, but that is quite a large sum of money to be taken for not a lot of news to come out about it.
Yeah, I feel like that would be all over the news.
Yeah, so he has accused the Department of Justice of giving a get-out-of-jail-free card to Epstein. Now, Epstein was found dead in his jail cell on August 10th at the age of 66. And because he was an asset of the Israeli intelligence agency Mossad, and government kingpins didn't want to clash with Israel.
Okay, so are they saying that they let him kill himself, or he's still alive, or what are they trying to insinuate here?
So they're saying that when Epstein was arrested for the $475 million Ponzi scheme, they didn't charge him with it because he was supposedly a member of Mossad, which is Israeli intelligence.
Ah, okay. But then when they busted him the second time or whatever, he couldn't escape that one.
Yeah. So according to Hoffenberg, there was an inside deal with the Justice Department because of the espionage. Now, Hoffenberger served 18 years and was released from prison in 2013.
Okay. All right, interesting.
So this revelation that Epstein was a spy first came to light in the book Epstein, Dead Men Tell No Tales. So and that's from the National Enquirer, so take it as you will, basically.
So, did it say what year that book was released? It must be a new one, huh?
Yeah, it must be a brand new one, because it looks like it just came out. They didn't give a year for it.
Okay, all right. Well, that's a great story. I don't know. I'm not sure he's an Israeli spy. I don't know if I'm believing that just because I'm assuming he is a Jewish man. I don't think that makes him a spy instantly, but I guess you can believe that guy if you want to.
Yeah, that's what I first thought when I saw it was, that's a little coincidental of a connection to put him into Mossad just because he's a Jewish guy. But that is two conspiracies that I've never heard connected with Epstein, was a Ponzi scheme and being a member of Mossad. So that was pretty interesting.
Well, okay, I'll give it the Ponzi scheme. I'll give that a lot more just for the fact that that dude was so fucking rich. Who knew? Who knows how he got that money?
Oh, yeah, exactly. Like, the thoughts and, like, evidence and all of the internet, like, conspiracies about, like, who was giving him money and who he was giving free plane rides to. Like, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, definitely. But anyway, Phil, are you ready to jump into this week's episode?
Yeah, I'm excited. Don't know what it's about. Let's go.
All right, so let me tell the little backstory of how I came into this. I don't even know if it's really a conspiracy. I think it's a conspiracy in my mind that I kind of wanted to find out the truth in. And it had happened, I think, maybe like 2 weeks ago. On Tuesdays, I have to take out the trash and the recycling. So then I got to thinking, I'm like, is putting out this recycling actually doing anything? Like, you've probably heard the conspiracy before that they basically just toss it in with regular garbage. Like, is it actually doing anything? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I have heard that before.
So I kind of...
It's just a feel-good program.
Yes, exactly. And that's why this isn't necessarily like our typical conspiracy. But what I found in my research, I thought was actually really interesting, and it's actually something that is affecting us literally this year, which I had no idea about. Once we get to that point, you can put your two cents in there. But yeah, I'm just, I would say I'm someone who's worried about the environment, obviously, but this is my opinion. It's really annoying that, taking care of the environment or whatever is no longer like a humanitarian effort. It is now always has to be a political agenda, which is really annoying, in my opinion. But we're not going to get political in this episode. So why don't we start off with here? I'm going to go through kind of the history of recycling, which I thought was actually really fascinating. I can only imagine how many people know about all this. So we're going to start off in 500 BC. Athens organized the first municipal dump program in the Western world. Local laws dictated that waste must be disposed of at least 1 mile from the city walls. So that's pretty crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, it's amazing that they had problems with their garbage all the way back then. I mean, that was probably right around the time when I'm trying to remember my Greek history, but I know that 500 BC is right around when civilization started to come back. So,
but damn, can you imagine having to walk a whole mile to recycle or to throw your trash away?
Yeah, but I mean, you got to think back then, people walked a lot. There wasn't
That's
exactly
true.
Bikes or not everyone had wagons. Horses were very rare. So
There wasn't no mopeders around there. I can guarantee that. So
yeah, there wasn't any of those fucking little bastards on those fucking razor scooters.
In 1031, Japan began the first ever recorded reuse of waste paper. All of the documents and paper are recycled and repulped into new paper, then sold in local shops across the country. So that, goddamn, that was almost 1,000 years ago, and they were doing it. That's pretty neat.
Yeah, I know I think it was during either the Reformation or the early Renaissance, but a lot of those books that had been handwritten, the science books, they claim were actually washed and had Bible pages reprinted on them. So that was a little later than 1,000, but I have heard of paper being reused, which is shitty because all of this great scientific discovery from, that time basically was erased to put bullshit on paper. So.
Yeah, that's true. Well, it was a very Christian time to live, I guess, is what you'd call it.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, in 1690, the recycled paper manufacturing process is introduced. The Rittenhouse Mill near Philadelphia will make paper from fiber derived from recycling cotton and linen rags. So even before America was established, they were recycling, I guess.
Yeah.
In 1776, as America declares its independence from the English, rebels turned to recycling to provide material to fight the War of Independence. So, but I guess this kind of makes sense. When you're in war, desperate times, you're going to use whatever you can.
We're low on ammo, men. Pick up that cannonball and send it back. Take it out of Johnny's chest if you have to.
Send Johnny with it. Fuck it. He did this for his country. In 1860,
he made $2 whole that week. It's fine.
I don't know, $2 for 1776. He'd probably be a millionaire by that point, right?
Yeah, it's pretty decent.
In 1865, the Salvation Army is founded in London, England, and begins collecting, sorting, and recycling unwanted goods. The household salvage brigades employed the unskilled poor to recover discarded materials. The organization and its programs migrated to the United States in the 1890s. I learned a lesson. I feel like we talked about the Salvation Army at Bubba Butt a long time ago, and I'm pretty sure it is a extremely Christian organization that has its roots were from some Christian organization or something like that.
Yeah, I don't really know much about it, but I would imagine their symbol's a cross. So.
Yeah, I feel like they've kind of shedded that part of it, in modern days, but that was its roots, which I guess shouldn't be that surprising because if you think about how many colleges and all that, that's basically was where they started, was a religious group or whatever.
Yeah.
In 1897, New York City created a materials recovery facility where trash is sorted at picking yards and separated into various grades of paper, metals, and carpet. Burlap bags, twines, rubber, and even horsehair are also sorted for recycling and reuse. In 1904, the first American aluminum can plants opened in Chicago and Cleveland, which obviously aluminum's a big one nowadays.
Yeah, I know it was really hard to make aluminum. Before then, you needed a lot of power to actually turn, I think it's bauxite into aluminum. So.
I mean, that makes sense, especially for fucking 1904.
Yeah, everything before then, like all the cans were made out of tin. So,
Ooh.
Problem is tin, like, rusted and, you know.
Yeah. Can you imagine getting a Pepsi and it starts rusting because it's made out of tin?
Yeah, and it doesn't have that protective liner on the inside.
Ew.
I think most of them were probably made out of like the glass bottles, or you went to like the soda pop fountains.
Ah,
from
yeah.
back then, but
Very true. That's a valid point. Starting in 1916, due to the massive shortages of raw materials during World War I, the federal government created the Waste Reclamation Service with the motto, "Don't waste waste, save it." Kind of a catchy phrase there, I guess.
yeah. Well, desperate times call for desperate measures. Fucking Jerry's.
In 1940, goods such as nylon, rubber, and many metals are rationed and recycled to help support the war effort once again. So obviously, as we can see, the war really makes people start to, what would the word be here? Kind of use everything at their disposal, I guess. You know, not waste a whole bunch of shit.
Definitely back then, like the war effort really took a lot of sacrifice, not just from the people going over there and, you know, jumping off the boats, but it was everyone back home. Like you hear about like leather shortages, butter, like any basic material that we have, like that we take for granted right now, was considered like strategic. So meat, butter, people like weren't able to make shoes out of leather. Like they had to like make do with shoes, like try to like remake them. So,
do you remember your grandparents saying basically like they had to wear bread bags for shoes?
No, I don't remember them ever saying that. I know that my grandma's on my mom's side family had a really hard time during the Depression.
Yeah, I mean, I assume most people did around that time, you know.
Yeah, she's always been a really good saver, like, really thrifty. So that's a pretty telltale sign.
Yeah, I was gonna say, well, the Great Depression will usually do that to you.
Yeah.
All right. In 1964, the all aluminum can is introduced, and with that, the value of used aluminum cans as a raw material was created, and the aluminum industry will soon begin creating a massive system for recycling and redeeming used beverage containers, which, does Arizona still offer money for cans?
I don't know. I don't actually collect cans. I don't think so. I never see any like recycling centers that take it. We don't even have like recycling pickup here in the city. So
really,
yeah, no,
for
it just
like
doesn't happen.
anything.
No,
really, wow. Okay, well,
no. Everyone just has one wheelie bin outside their house, and it's just, you know, trash.
Okay, well, I can tell you, in Minnesota, like every single person I see has a goddamn recycling thing outside their house. So, guess it's just differences in states.
Yeah, Arizona's a very conservative state, so they pride themselves on not giving a fuck. So, that happens.
So in 1965, I think it's Mobis Loop is introduced as a symbol for reduce, recycle, and reuse, or reduce, reuse, recycle, however you want to say it. And you obviously know what this is, right?
It's the
three
triangle
arrows
with the arrows?
Yeah, so apparently that was started in 1965, which is... I didn't think it was that old.
No, me neither. I thought that was something like that came out during the 90s. Because I only started seeing it when I was a kid. Like, probably when I was 8 or 9. That's when like the program got really big, though.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I could still remember in Catholic school, like, I for some reason that sticks out in my mind, like in science class, they had how important it was to reduce, reuse, or recycle. I don't know why I remember that, but...
I remember they used to have us put our... This was like a big thing that they started doing. They had us put our like organic waste in one trash can, and then our cardboard and non like napkins and shit in another one. And then they claimed that they were taking like the food waste to pig farms and feeding it to pigs.
Yeah, that wouldn't be unheard of because one of the restaurants I work for up here, they had a giant like 50-gallon fucking trash can that they'd fill to the brim with basically waste or whatever, food waste, and they would give it to pig farmers. So
I was gonna say dump it right in the sewer.
That they could do that too. I mean, it's biodegradable, so I mean, technically you could.
It was just a feel-good program.
Now, in 1974, University City, Missouri, became the first county to offer curbside recycling to its residents, which obviously is what we all know now, right? Or, well, I guess people in Arizona don't know, but people in Minnesota are familiar with the curbside recycling.
People in the give a fuck world know exactly what's going on in that situation.
Now, in 1988, the number of curbside recycling programs in the U.S. increased to about 1,050, right? In 1992, the total number of curbside programs in the U.S. grew to a total of 5,404. That's a lot over only 4 years, right?
Yeah, that's what year did you say that was? 1994?
1992.
1992. So that would have been when we were about 7, 8. So that's exactly the time that we were talking about.
Yeah.
Was when it started getting big. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, basically. So, as you can see, it grew quite a bit, and to date, they estimate there's about 10,000 recycling centers nationwide, which I think is fantastic, personally. We should probably attempt to be more, I don't know, environmentally conscious or try to waste so many of our resources, I guess. Is that the right answer? I don't know. Or the right wording?
Yeah, it just depends on, like, what happens after they get to the recycling center. Because, I mean, are we just giving that to, like, apparently, like...
don't spoil it now.
I'm not going to spoil it, but what I'm going to say is, apparently we don't do a very good job of turning, like, bottles into other things, or even, like, bottles again. So, it's really hard to, like, put the oil down to its, like, base form and then, like, remake it into something.
That's a very valid point. Now, the last little piece of data here I want to say is, in 2012, more than 585 million pounds of consumer electronics are recycled, an increase in 125 million pounds from the year prior. Now, we're going to talk about electronic recycling later in the episode, which I think might be probably the biggest concern out of anything, maybe outside of plastics. What do you think?
Well, I know that like our modern cell phones are made out of like heavy metals that they're like called like the rare earth metals or whatever. But I know that it's very hard to recycle like the metal inside of those, like especially the batteries are really hard to recycle and reuse. So I know that's a huge problem because all of that metal is basically getting into like the landfills. Yeah. And it's just building up.
We're gonna be talking about that particular side of recycling later on. Let me basically jump back to curbside pickup here. Now, do you remember initially, or maybe you still see it in stores or wherever, where they want you to kind of divide up plastics, glass, paper, all that, you know?
Yeah. They want you to do the job for their people who work at the recycling.
Right. Now, it's changed over recent times where basically, and this is even how our recycling is here, now you can kind of just throw it in all in one bin, and then the companies themselves will sort it out in their facilities. I'm not sure why they decided to do that, but they changed it that way, I guess. I mean, it kind of makes sense. If you're hiring people at a recycling plant, I'd assume they can sort through it or whatever.
Yeah, I remember. So I used to work in 2005, 2006. I worked at a factory in Emmitsburg, Iowa, and I worked in the shipping department. Part of my duties was to take the recycling from the plant and drive it over to the recycling center. And they basically had like huge tables where they would dump the recycled material onto the tables, and then they would have sorters putting it into different little bins.
Yeah.
So
that must have evolved kind of recently, I'm assuming. Now, the thing is basically kind of what happens after, they sort them and all of that. Well, basically what I've come to find out is essentially they sell them to other countries, more or less. And the main country is China, obviously, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
I was gonna say that before, but I didn't want to blow the lead on you. So
yeah, no. I'm assuming maybe that's kind of obvious or whatever.
Yeah.
But now the law that I was talking about is what China had done just in 2018. Because I don't know if you've heard, they have placed a ban on essentially buying what they called is foreign garbage, essentially. Now, have you heard about this?
yeah, I have. From what I heard, I don't know if this is true or not, that it came after the basically the United States was like renegotiating the trade deals with China, and China tried to strong arm America by putting an embargo on our recycling, hoping to like bury us in our own shit, basically.
I mean, that was kind of the thought that came to my mind, but the interesting point of it is that it wasn't just the U.S., it's also the European countries that they are now refusing to buy essentially garbage from.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if they assume if they're fighting with the U.S. that they just throw the European nations in with it as well. I don't really know. I completely forgot to put down what the name of the their fucking policy was. Something like sword thrust or something like that. Like they literally called it something like sword and shield or like something like that. I don't know.
Do they have Karl Rove running their fucking marketing department? Like,
I don't know. They might.
That bill doesn't have any pep behind it. We're going to call that sword thrust. If that doesn't work, we're going to call it raging hard on.
I thought that was pretty funny, actually. But now China is claiming that they did this. The reason is probably what you mentioned, but what they're claiming is they want to clean up their own country, essentially. So now the problem this is causing is, say, a lot of people don't know that this happened, and we are still recycling, right? And we believe we're recycling. We believe that our products are being recycled. But if China's not accepting it, then what is happening to our recyclables? And more or less, what I was reading is companies will either, they weren't recycling in the first place, okay? Or number two, if they were recycling and now they cannot sell it, now they're literally just throwing it into a goddamn landfill anyway, just to appease the the public or their clientels. And states where it's illegal to throw your recycling into a landfill, but they can't sell it, now they are giving them like temporary permits or whatever to just burn it or throw it in a landfill until they can figure out basically what to do with it, more or less. So that's kind of the situation that we're in right now. Although there is a lot of American companies that are trying to essentially start up their own recycling plants, I guess. Not like sorting plants, but like literally paper, plastic, glass, all that, aluminum recycling plants, like China had. So
yeah, I can see how big of a problem it is when a company basically has a product that goes from bringing in income to becoming an expense. Like you have to put it on the other side of the books now. All of a sudden, your bottom line just took a major hit, and it's like, Jesus Christ, just fucking dump it. Like anywhere you can, just dump it. So
It's once we get down to like the very end of this, you're gonna see that recycling isn't about caring at all about what's happening to the products. It merely comes down to how much money can we make off of this? That's all it boils down to.
yeah, I always thought recycling was kind of like the feel-good thing anyway. Like
Yeah.
feeling like you're doing something good for the environment. Like if you really want to do something good for the environment, all you have to do, like buy a water bottle that you actually use. Like never buy bottles again for like water. You do so much just by doing that.
Yeah.
Like if everyone did that and they stopped like selling those little personal plastic water bottles, that would be huge to take away all of that crap. But you know,
What do they call that? Single-use water or single-use plastics. That's what I think is probably one of the biggest worries we should have about waste, I guess. Because what is there, that giant plastic island floating around in the ocean?
oh, it's more than an island. It's a fucking continent now in the Pacific Ocean. Fucking most of that comes from like the runoff. A lot of it just from India and China though. And like Southeast Asia. Flowing out of their rivers and shit. But there was a huge problem after the earthquake and tsunami that hit Japan, that hit the radioactive plant. That tsunami basically like rushed in and then pulled out all of like that. So basically the tsunami floodwater just rushed in all of this water and then pulled out all of the like destructed building material and the garbage and all of the sewage back into the ocean. And since it had the radioactive component from the nuclear power plant, a lot of that shit is radioactive. So the ocean has been getting a high dose of radiation. So maybe don't eat that fish fillet this Lent.
That's terrifying. Radioactive trash in the ocean, that's fucking terrifying.
Yeah, they have, I've seen these maps, like, they take them from the satellites and you can see the like affected water, and it's just in this big swirl that goes around, coming out of Japan and back around all the way around like the South American coast, North American coast. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, it's basically, it's getting caught in like a tide or something right there, or like the current of the ocean or something. Isn't that what they say? Yeah,
the ocean current, and it's going like down and then back up and around. So filtering to the middle.
That's not great. Well, anyway, Phil, I want to talk about basically where our plastics go in China. Now, this might be one of the things that I found the most fascinating because plastics, I think, like we said, are probably the one thing that a lot of people worry about the most. Now, the main hub in China where pretty much all the plastics go is called Wenan County. I think that's what it is. I think it's Wenan County anyway. Basically, what I was reading, it's this huge kind of a blog post about a guy who is visiting this area to kind of see what it's like and everything. Now, apparently this entire land used to be an agricultural area, like it was just farmlands and everything, and now it's literally nothing but plastic recycling little factories or whatever you want to call them. Essentially, this guy said you'd be walking down the street or driving or whatever, and you would just see plastic bags flying around everywhere, trash flying around everywhere. Most of the time you'd see trucks coming in just filled to the brim with plastics. Just junk fucking everywhere, essentially, because this is where our plastic junk goes to, is this area in China. So
just making China great again.
Yeah, I guess. this guy, I mean, I'm sure he's being a little overly dramatic for a blog post, but it sounded like a goddamn nuclear fallout area with just plastic trash everywhere, which is kind of terrifying.
It did kind of sound like the game Fallout, like how
Yeah.
you just kind of walk around and there's just garbage everywhere.
I'm guessing it doesn't look that much different. Now, according to some of the citizens here, you can start your own recycling company here for about $300.
Nice.
So if you want to move there, get into the recycling game, it's going to cost you $300.
It's nice to hear that China's getting into that entrepreneurial spirit.
Yeah.
You know, like we're gonna take American garbage and turn it into gold.
Now, I think the most terrifying thing about this entire story is that this gentleman goes into these tiny little buildings or whatever where they're recycling plastic, and they're using really bad chemicals, and not a single person has any sort of safety or like hazard protection items. Apparently he walked to like the supply store and they don't even sell safety or hazard protection items at all. So yeah, we know the effects of that. That's not great at all.
The funny thing is they probably make all of the PPE that we're forced to wear in America just down the street.
But they're not
All of the
allowed to
fucking-
use it.
All of the fucking safety glasses, the earplug, the breather masks, all of that's probably made in China, but they just don't use it.
Ugh.
And I was going to say too, you can only get a situation like where you have a giant industrial area full of recycling centers like that if you have zero regulations. And
Yeah.
then that, what you just said kind of lends to that too.
So are you saying OSHA paying them a visit wouldn't help much?
Oh God, if they ever got like a American form of OSHA in those places, they would have to turn them back into fucking, I don't even know, like fields or whatever.
I think where that struck the most with me was basically that we're recycling for a purpose that we believe it's helping. And while, yes, technically they are recycling the plastic there, the people who have to recycle this stuff are being exposed to all of this shit. You know, it's just like, it's not good.
Yeah, well, the whole point of like reduce litter, like recycle, you know, putting recycling cans everywhere, is basically to keep like our cities looking good, our roads looking good. We don't care about what happens to the garbage once it gets picked up. You know,
True.
It doesn't really matter. Like if somebody throws garbage on the ground, you're considered an asshole. If you put
Yeah.
it in the garbage can, oh, that's a nice person. But where the fuck does that go after you put it in the garbage can? It's still there. It's not like it disappeared in the garbage can.
I know, and that's, like I said when we started this, that's kind of what this whole thing kind of came in my mind. I'm like, I really want to know what is going on exactly with the recycling world, and quite frankly, I'm not entirely shocked, but it's a little worse. I wouldn't say it's worse than I had anticipated, but there's a lot of things that I didn't foresee happening.
Yeah.
Mostly the China ban.
Oh, I was going to say, we're definitely like privileged, like living in the US where no matter where you live, you can take your garbage somewhere. You can take you can get rid of your waste. Like in those third world countries where you see like just piles of garbage, like lining the streets or, you know, just in people's homes, they really don't have anywhere to like take it, or their country is taking other people's garbage and it's just winding up, like, you know, being dumped in their landfills, which are overflowing
Yeah.
and then blowing around everywhere.
Ugh, it's not great. But
No.
anyway, I want to basically read this quote from the website I got, or actually the blog was scientificamerican.com. I just wanted to read this one little item here. I want you to keep in mind these factories essentially chop plastics up, smash and chop plastic up into tiny little pieces, okay? And then we're kind of seeing, he's talking about the process after that. We walked into a brighter room, roughly 40 feet long and perhaps half as wide. It smells of something modern and chemical. In the middle is a long device that runs perhaps half the room's length. At one end, a worker who pours boxes of shredded plastic flakes into a table-sized funnel, where they're slowly melted. I can see the heat and the melted plastic fumes rising into his face. Meanwhile, the plastic drips into a 10-foot-long pipe, eventually emerging as 15 pencil-thin gray noodles. The principle isn't much different from the one used in a pasta maker. The only difference is that the plastic noodles are cut into quarter-inch pellets and packed into bags for sale to manufacturers. So, I mean, technically they are recycling, right?
Yeah.
Someone will buy the little pellets, they'll melt them down, create whatever shit they wanted to create out of them. So, I mean, technically the plastic recycling is working, but if you notice the point in there, the plastic fumes and everything shooting in this man's face as he's doing it, it's not great.
Yeah, I'm guessing that there's a high turnaround for that job just because the dude can't come in anymore due to the fucking illnesses that he's going to get from all of those fumes.
Every type of cancer known to man, he has it.
He just has like all around cancer, not even like a specific body part. Just he has cancer. What kind
Yeah.
of cancer? All of it.
All of it. You see a list, just check every box. He's got it.
The dude's 19 years old. He looks 87.
Well, from the sounds of it, like, a lot of these people are entrepreneurs or whatever. They started their own recycling business. So it's not like they can stop doing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I mean, it's how you feed your family.
Yeah.
So.
And now I'm kind of wondering if China is, they have this ban. Like, how does it affect those people economically? Are they strictly doing China's trash now? Or, like, what are they doing? That's what I'm wondering.
You got to think that China has enough people and it's modernized enough to where they're basically, they don't need all of America's trash. Like,
True.
they can do it themselves, maybe?
Yeah, I would assume so. All right. No, go ahead.
I was going to say, they have, like, Coca-Cola over there. They have McDonald's. I mean,
They got
they can consume just as hard as we can, so.
I was going to say, they got plenty of trash building up.
Yeah.
All right.
Not like Pittsburgh, but, garbage trash.
I'm guessing Pittsburgh's the one city in America that didn't send over their trash to China.
Yeah, there's a pro-littering fucking bill that went through. Everyone just throws their fucking McDonald's shit on the ground.
You get arrested if you try to recycle it.
Exactly.
All right, now I want to read a little bit about glass recycling. Now, it seems like from my reading, glass recycling is the only one of the major recyclables that is 100% recyclable. So basically, you can smash it down, chop it into tiny little bits, collect it, and then melt it all and create whatever glass you want. The only problem is that you cannot mix the colored glasses together. Because apparently one colored glass with whatever other color, clear glass or whatever, it will ruin the entire batch because of the chemicals that are inside of it, I believe. So,
okay.
Which I thought was kind of interesting. Let me go through the 4 different colors of glass here. Blue glass is made from naturally occurring iron impurities from the sand. The blue glass is used for food and beverage containers and even home design items like tiles, flooring, and stained glass. You get the idea.
Yep.
Brown glass results from materials like carbon, nickel, and sulfur being added to the molten glass. A brown hue can be used to protect the container's contents from direct exposure to sunlight, and in turn helps preserve the flavor and freshness. Brown glass is mainly used in food and drink preservation. Obviously, beer bottles, mainly in brown. I don't know would they put wine bottles in that category? Probably, right?
Wine bottles are usually green in color, aren't they? I don't drink a ton of wine, so.
I think they can actually. You know what? I almost think wine's color of the bottle tries to match the color of the liquid inside the whatever color the wine is. I think, now that I think about it, I think it does. So, anyway, clear glass is made from basic glass elements like sand and limestone and is used for a variety of products like food and beverage containers, electronics, home design items, and much more. So I'm assuming that is the most common and probably the most basic one to make. I would
Yeah,
assume.
probably the cheapest too, because
Yeah.
you see most bottles are just kind of like the clear bottles. So,
Yeah. Now,
the colorless ones.
Now, green glass is very, very similar to brown glass because it is created by adding ingredients to the molten glass, particularly copper, iron, and chromium. Glass products protect contents from sun exposure and extreme temperatures. Therefore, it is mostly used for food and drink safeguarding. Now, I was reading something that I think it was England, or maybe it was another European country, that they can recycle blue, brown, and clear, but for some reason, green glass, nobody wants it after it's been recycled, so they have, like, a really hard time getting rid of it. I don't know if that's entirely true, but that's what it seemed like. So
I've never heard that before, because I don't really know much about like the glass recycling.
yeah,
so.
but I don't know if that's because maybe not a whole lot of places use green glass outside of like that really expensive water. What is that
Perrier.
one? Perrier, yeah.
Perrier. Well, I know I've seen wine bottles in the store that were green, and usually it's like the fancier. So, like the fancy shit, it comes in like a green bottle.
Maybe
So.
that's why. Yeah, fancy shit like Heineken and Rolling Rock.
Yeah, and Jägermeister, I think, is in
Yeah,
a green bottle
there
too, but
you
that's
go.
not very fancy.
I think that's a brown one, isn't it?
Is Jägermeister in a brown bottle? I don't know.
I don't know.
It's been a long time since I've been 22. So
I know, and it doesn't taste great at all.
No,
It's
I don't know
disgusting.
What we were thinking.
No, but basically glass. While it's probably one of the more dangerous ones because you smash a glass bottle, someone steps on it, yada yada yada, that thing. But yeah, it seems like glass is 100% recyclable, and I can only imagine there has to be windows in people's homes that are made from recycled glass. I'd almost assume there has to be, even though I think most windows now are like a hybrid glass plastic or whatever. But I don't know. That's yeah.
Or the double pane where they have like the plastic in the middle of the two pieces of glass, so it doesn't shatter through. That's how like windshields are, I think.
Yeah. I think the reason windshields are shatterproof is because of it's two panes, and then I almost think it's like some window or house windows have like that gas in the middle of them.
Oh yeah.
Or some sort of something. I think that's in car windshields too, because it will help absorb the impact and it won't allow it to crack or something like that.
Yeah, I know. I think it was maybe before they used to use a resin.
Maybe that's what it is then. I don't know.
But yeah, the having the two panes and then gas in the middle of them, I know is for installation for your home.
That's right. That's a good point. Yeah. Didn't think about that. You know what's funny? I literally know how to fix glass chips at work, and I've drilled into windshields hundreds of times, and I'm like, I know there's two panes of glass in there, but I don't really know what's in the middle of it. Something's in the middle of it that leaves enough gap, probably like a 1/16 of an inch gap in there, so then you can fill it with liquid or whatnot, but I don't really know what's actually in there.
I know that when I fixed windshields when I was in the Air Force for vehicle maintenance, we used like a little resin gun, and you would vacuum out all of the debris out of the crack and then force in resin.
Yeah.
And then put something on top of it so that it flattened out.
Yep.
So.
Yep, that's exactly what we do too. You basically just force the resin in there, then you put something over top so it gets hard, more or less.
Or if you're like me, you just let it spider web and then just keep driving it for 2 years. Just let her go. I know. Here's the fucking thing. I know the minute that I replace that windshield, another rock is going to hit it.
Oh, yeah.
So.
Oh, yeah. That's just how fate works.
Yeah, immediately. Just fucking spitting in my face. It's the goddamn roads out here.
Now, all right, let's move on to probably my biggest concern was electronics recycling. Now, I work for Best Buy, and it was right during the time period where Best Buy was accepting electronics to be recycled, and they'd give you like a gift card or something for recycling it. You know, basically just to lure you into buying more shit. They didn't actually care about the recyclings. But the thing, I always heard a rumor, I was like, where do these giant boxes of TVs and all sorts of shit go? And I always heard a rumor that they were literally being sold to China, and then they were just dumped in a landfill, and we pretended like they were being recycled, right? That is what I had always heard. But it seems like electronics recycling is probably one of the most valuable recycling of all of them, which kind of makes sense. Like you mentioned earlier in the episode, they have special metals in them and things like that. Now, when I was watching the process of how they recycle most electronics, I thought it was fascinating, because essentially they smash them, cut them up in little pieces, right? Goes through a conveyor belt, and they'll almost have like different magnets or different things that will pull out the different metals once they're in tiny pieces. So say aluminum will get sucked off this way, something will get sucked off this way, the plastic will go this way. So as they're sorting it, it kind of like the machine sort it for them once it's already in pieces. And then those little pellets are obviously sold off to companies or whatever. So it's not as dire as I thought it was, right?
Well, the thing is, I mean, our electronics are made out of like a ton of different like plastics, metals, you know, all of this shit. Like, it's great that like the metals are going to somewhere, but what happens to all the junk that they don't need? You know?
Yeah, I think that's the part of it that I'm assuming just gets thrown in the landfill. But it's not the goal of 100%, but if you recycle an electronic and you save maybe 70% of it, or 60 or 70 or 80% of it, that's a lot better than just throwing a whole fucking computer monitor in a trash can, right?
Yeah. Well, it would be nice if the companies that made that shit didn't make it so that it was purposely set up to break in 18 months or be outdated, and that would be nice.
That would,
you could actually use them for a few years.
That would be nice. Now, did you know that some states actually impose laws requiring the cell phone companies to be responsible for the recycling of their cell phones?
No, I hadn't heard that.
Yeah, so I don't know when the last time you've been to, like, I don't even know who you go through, Verizon, T-Mobile, whatever. If you go into their stores, and Arizona has forced them to do that, there should be a little cell phone recycling bin inside their store.
I think I saw those in, maybe it was England, when I got a brand new cell phone. The place that I went to had a little box that you could throw your old one into.
Yeah.
So I think I've seen it there.
Now, surprisingly, like you mentioned, cell phones are hard to recycle, but it can be very profitable for the companies, mainly because they can take old cell phones, presumably chop them up like other electronics, and then they can build their newer models of cell phones out of the recycled cell phones. So that cell phone that costs you $500, there is a chance that cell phone that you are now paying $1,200 for is made from the same material as the old fucking cell phones. So it's a very real possibility. They mentioned that they do that. So it's kind of funny to think about. Yeah, basically, right?
Yeah.
Now,
I just imagine like one of those 1999, 2002 fucking Nokia bricks turning into a Razor, then turning into a fucking iPod, you know?
Yeah.
We're just using the same metals from all of the old Nokia bricks.
I should have looked up the how they recycled the lithium batteries. I didn't really look that deep into it, mainly because if I'm being honest, like, I took down a shit ton of notes, and I didn't know how long this was going to take to kind of chop through all of this stuff. So I didn't go super deep. I just kind of did a broad stroke of probably the three main ones. Paper, obviously paper and cardboard, I believe. Obviously, if they were recycling paper, back in 1031. I'm pretty sure we can recycle that now.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say quick with the whole reduce, reuse, recycle gimmick thing. You would think that like recycling is obviously important, but really a more important like part of that would be to reduce. You would think we would maybe go back to using glass bottles rather than like how much emphasis has been put on plastic in the past like 20, 30 years. Because I remember when I was a kid, like every soda I had came out of a glass bottle. Now it's all plastic. I barely even use like aluminum cans anymore. It's all just plastic.
I mean, it's pretty obvious because plastic's a lot cheaper than glasses.
Yeah. But I mean, if there was an actual emphasis on it from like the government, they might put like an incentive program behind it. But
well, that's where the lobbyists come in, Phil.
Oh, that's true.
That's not gonna happen.
I am stepping on the oil industry into their little territory.
Be careful.
You don't want to walk in there.
You got the CIA after you, now you're gonna have the damn oil companies after you.
I'm more afraid of the oil companies and Big Pharma. Honestly, like the CIA might, give me a little threat, but Big Pharma, they'll just fucking take you out.
Oh yeah. They'll dispose of you and nobody will even know you existed. The last real quick thing about cell phones that I put in here I think was kind of neat. If you were to recycle like a large amount of cell phones, right? Mm-hmm. It can yield as much as 0.6 of a pound of gold and about 0.3 of a pound of platinum and palladium. And from that, you could get about 300 pounds of copper. And obviously the plastic and glass can be recycled as well. 0.6 of a pound of gold. That's a lot. That's a lot of money, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. I mean, look at how much gold is an ounce right now. Yeah. It's in the thousands. So that's quite a few ounces. I mean, a pound is 16. So yeah.
I think in each cell phone, obviously, there's probably like the tiniest bit of gold in there, probably for like connectivity or some shit like that. Platinum and palladium, I imagine, are fairly valuable metals.
Oh yeah, that's what catalytic converters are made out of, is palladium. And like when you take a car in to get it chopped up, like recycled, the like biggest thing is the catalytic converter. Like they want that on the vehicle still, because the iron obviously is worth a lot of money for what's in the vehicle. There's not a lot of like iron in the vehicles these days. It's mostly made out of plastic and aluminum. But that catalytic converter is very valuable.
Well, I remember when I used to kind of help out my dad at his shop, his mechanic shop. This was 2003 maybe or 4. The catalytic converters were worth about $60 a piece back then. But I remember he always said you had to like gather a whole bunch and go to Chicago to actually get paid for them. So you had to like transport them a pretty far distance. But yeah, if you're willing to do it, they could be profitable.
I remember watching a car get crushed at Qualms, which was on Highway 9 outside of Cresco. It was funny because all that they would do, it was of course not like a big business. It's just a bunch of, rednecks in there. They would like smash all the windows out and just kind of gather up all of the like important stuff. And I saw them like underneath it, like grabbing it out of the exhaust. And then once they did that, they just crushed it into a fucking pancake and put it on top,
Yeah.
But I know, like, my dad told me, like, that they're actually grabbing the catalytic converter right now. Like, when they were up underneath it. When they had it on the forklift, lifted it up, they would get it out from underneath, and then they would put it straight onto the fucking crusher.
Yeah.
So
I remember, did you ever go to, I think it was Leroy, and they had, like, the iron, I don't know if it's an iron recycling plant or it's a metal recycling junkyard or whatever. Do you ever remember going there? Yeah, I remember watching them just smash a car into a million pieces. It was quite a sight.
Yeah, that's where we would take all of our scrap iron. Like from, my dad was kind of a big hoarder, and anytime he had like too much shit, he would take a load of iron out to Leroy.
Yeah, it's kind of neat. Anyway, Phil, so I guess since we don't really have a conspiracy here, do you... After reading all of this, do you think the United States and other countries could be facing trouble by the China ban. Basically, they've built up this huge network of attempting to recycle things, and now that China's banned it, they're kind of left with running around with chickens with their heads cut off, not really sure what to do. So, do you think we should keep recycling, or do you think it's just a gimmick? What do you think?
I definitely think that we should keep reducing and reusing. Recycling for like plastics and stuff like that, I just think it gets thrown away. But definitely, like, if like the glass, that's a great thing if it's 100% recyclable. The electronics, if they can make a profit out of it and figure out what to do with like all the junk that comes from recycling too, that'd be great.
Yeah.
But if they're just gonna throw it in a fucking landfill anyway, I mean, why is the government spending all this money on recycling programs if they're actually just sending the shit to China?
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I mean, their job essentially, from what I gathered, the recycling places in America, I'm sure there's plenty of companies that actually like straight up recycle it, kind of like they were doing in China. But say like your local trash company who's collecting it and sorting it, I assume they just sort it and then just kind of hand it off to somebody else.
Yeah, that's kind of how I assume it happens. Like anything valuable gets taken to certain places, but anything like not very valuable, like that was like claimed to be recyclable but isn't, like the green bottles you were talking about.
Yeah.
I imagine that just ends up in the garbage. Like if you can't make a profit out of it, it's just going to end up in the regular garbage.
I know, that was kind of the sad thing about all this, was that it has nothing to do about caring about actually recycling or reducing or anything. It's just, can we make money off of it?
It's fucking capitalism.
I know.
What it boils down to.
They're
Bottom
just like,
line.
well, we could recycle, but since China's not buying it, we're not making any money off of it, so what's the point? Yeah, okay,
well, that's
okay.
like whenever a state gets rid of their like 5 cents for aluminum cans. Whenever a state gets rid of that, all of a sudden it just goes into the garbage. Like people don't give a fuck anymore.
No.
If you can't get your 5 cents per can, they don't care. Like I haven't put anything in a recycling bin outside of where I work at because they actually have a program. But outside of where I work, I haven't thrown like a bottle or anything into a recycling bin in quite a while.
Phil. No, but yeah, so I'm almost positive Minnesota had gotten rid of that 5 cents program quite a long time ago. I think Iowa might still do it. Now, my understanding is they don't give you a bottle deposit for turning in the can or whatever, but they will buy the aluminum from you, which is kind of weird. So you could get like a bag of cans and they'll give you its weight in the price of aluminum or something like that. So I'm not really sure, but I don't really know. I don't use cans that often, if I'm being honest. If I have beer or whatever, I always throw it in our recycling bin. But
yeah, I normally drink beer out of bottles now, so
yeah.
I don't really drink them out of cans. I think it tastes better.
Oh yeah, obviously. But I'm saying, like, we put glass and everything in that thing. Basically, as long as it hasn't been touched by food, I think is the rule. You can recycle it. I guess. I don't know. The whole thing was, I was just curious. You hear all these rumors about what's happening to our plastics, and I'm just like, I'm genuinely curious, and I'm sure there's a lot of people who are curious, but don't really want to, don't care enough to, like, search for it, I guess, and read through. That's the other thing I should mention, too, before we get out of here, is I couldn't look up this information without finding websites with a political agenda. It was so obnoxious. I'm just like, I don't care about what your political beliefs are. I just want to know what's happening to the goddamn recycling. I don't care about your political opinion. It was insane. I wasn't even expecting that, but it's like you have to like actively avoid that. It's really sad, kind of.
Yeah. Well, kind of while we were talking, I was thinking of what a conspiracy might. You know how we were talking about how the big program came around for people to start like sorting their own recycling?
Yeah.
People didn't really realize how profitable recycling was. So really, us sorting our own recycling made recycling more profitable for them. So that could be kind of a conspiracy, maybe. Like,
that's a good
telling
point.
us that we were saving the environment, even though they didn't give a fuck about the environment. They were just thinking about profit.
Yeah. That's a good point, because then they have to hire less workers to sort it for them.
Yeah, and they do not pay those workers very much money. At all.
Absolutely not. Well, now that you mentioned that, I was just thinking, so if they convince, I bet it's a balance where they can get more people to pay for recycling and give them the recyclable goods if they know they don't have to sort it themselves. So it's probably like a profit or a profit balancing act right there. We're like, okay, we can hire people to sort it, which will make us more money if people don't have to sort it themselves. Does that make sense?
If people,
like,
what are you talking about? If you're saying they want to hire more people, so people don't have to sort it?
No, I'm saying if people are required to sort their own recycling for them to then take it from them, and they'd make money, right? They can get more people who are willing to recycle their stuff if they don't have to sort it. So they'll make more money with more people recycling than they basically they'll make more money if more people recycle, and more people will recycle if they don't have to sort it themselves. So hiring a few people at low wages to sort it for them doesn't really matter, I guess.
Oh, I gotcha. Good point. Okay.
So I'm assuming it's kind of like they see which angle makes them more profit.
You know, that's a good point. At my work, there's actually like 5 different bins for like, oh, organic waste goes here, plastic bottles go here, styrofoam goes here, and eventually you're just like, fuck it, and throw it all in one. So
yeah,
maybe maybe that's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that actually. Okay.
Yeah.
It's the opposite, but yeah.
It's kind of confusing, but I could see them micromanaging the profits down to which one makes us more money, basically. So I don't know.
Yeah. Kind of like they field tested sort programs, and then they're like, oh, this isn't working good. So they just hired the people anyway.
Well,
$3 an hour.
I'm only getting that because where I was reading in the very beginning of the episode, where you, like I said, you had to sort your own first, and then all of a sudden you can just throw it in a bin and they'll do it. And then that led to a shitload more people willing to recycle. So kind of makes sense.
They realized if they made people work for free, they wouldn't give a fuck.
No. But anyway, Phil, if anybody wants to send us hate mail about recycling, where can they do that?
They can send it straight to subliminaldpodcast@gmail.com. We actually got a message from one of the people who messaged us a few months ago about the 23andMe episode idea. And it was actually a great message. I want to say thanks. And if you guys have any more ideas out there, just kind of throw them our way. We also have Instagram, Subliminal Deception Podcast on IG. That's actually the best way to get a hold of us. I check that about 2 or 3 times a day. I have my own personal one, SDPodPhil. I never post to it and never check it. Cody, you got a couple?
Yeah, you can add my personal Instagram at CodySabub, where you can add my other podcast, Bumblebutt Podcast, if you're into true crime and all of that jazz. Otherwise, the last thing we need you to do is to log on to iTunes and leave the show a 5-star review. Just write whatever you want. Doesn't really matter. Write your favorite type of recycling in there. Hit 5 stars. Hit submit, and it will greatly help out the show. Helps us get exposure. We need more people to get into the, what would you say our tackling of conspiracies is, Phil? We're more extremely subjective, right?
Yeah, we're awfully skeptical from the responses that I get. People don't like sometimes when we bash on their conspiracy.
Yeah. You know what? It is what it is. It's just the type of people you and I are, and that's how we view conspiracies. You know, it's just an opinion anyway. So, but anyway, hope you enjoyed this episode. It was a little different, but I think maybe you'll learn something. Otherwise, guys, we'll see you next week.
Thanks, guys.